One of the key features for the OpenStack administrators is multi-tenancy. Storware Backup and Recovery supports multi-tenancy through the projects support and with the Horizon plugin. So using Horizon plugin, you are able to expose backup and restore capabilities that Storware Backup and Recovery offers to the end users, so they can actually invoke backup operations directly from within the Horizon console. In this video, I'm going to show you how Horizon plugin can support that operations. Let's start with logging into the OpenStack Horizon. I have the admin account in here. Let's log in first, and notice that on the left menu I have my backup and recovery section available. Whenever I click Dashboard, that's usually the first thing to do, I have some basic charts how my data protection works. If I have how many virtual machines are protected, the success rate for past 24 hours, and general backup restore activity. All of these dashboard charts, as you can see here, are related to the selected project. So every users in the different projects will see different dashboards. Now, reporting section allows you actually to see the last successful and failed backups and overall status rates for given period of time. So I see that I have some backups already that have been created, some restores that have been invoked, backup size and transfer size as well, so I can generate reports limited to the specific backup destinations or per virtual machine. I have only one VM here that is actually needs protection, so let's go to the virtual environment section. In the instances view, I'll have only the instances that relate to the current project. So I have invoked backup on my VM3 instance in here, and I will see only VMs that reside in this project, plus the instances that have been removed, obviously because I may want to recover them in the future. On the right side, I can invoke the backup operation, and let's just run the full backup. Optionally, I can select rules. Notice that with the Storware Backup and Recovery, a policy can have multiple rules. Each rule can be invoked according to a different set of schedules and can result in a backup stored in a different location. I have one rule in my policy, so I can just run the backup now, and this submits a task. Whenever you would like to monitor a task, here on the left there is a task console. Workflow execution is the more high-level perspective, because you may want to have all of the tasks related to the specific activity being grouped. My workflow here actually has a running task already. And if I have multiple tasks like I had in my previous backup, notice that it will group together all of these tasks under the single workflow execution. If I would like to have a more global view, global perspective, all of the tasks that actually are visible, then you can switch to the task console here on the left, and you will see all of these being shown to you. This task view also is limited to the currently selected project, so you can actually give it to the end users without the need to worry about the security. Now, in the virtual environments, let's go back to our instances view, and while the backup is still running, we can go to the details of such VM. Here I can browse through some charts, I can see the daily activity, I can also check out the backup size stats. This is just for backup only, or maybe time perspective is also important to track for any bottlenecks that are in this environment. Maybe tasks are waiting too long, maybe the export process takes too long, or the store phase needs some additional time or grows over the time. In the bottom of the part of the screen, I have the backup history. Maybe some of them has already been removed, some restore history. I have one of the instances that has been successfully restored, and the snapshots list that are available in the environment that have been left, for instance, for the next incremental backups, if you would like to enable such feature. Or disks that are that can be excluded, for instance, that are detected, but some of them you may just not want to protect. For the policy, we assign actually the schedules directly to the rules. So here I have a list of effectively enabled schedules for this instance, and last but not least is obviously the settings page. By default, you may want to use the import-export mode from the hypervisors, or optional you can override that on the VM level. Change the policy here from as well, and give access to the over SSH to the instance if it's supported. Now let's go back and check out our task console still. What's the status of our backup job? Backup has been finished, so now in the virtual environment section I can initiate the restore phase, restore process. So here, optionally I can specify name of the virtual environment. So for instance I can specify VM3 restore 2 and invoke the restore process. Now for the OpenStack environments we also support the option for file-level restore. And end users also are able to define their policies. So here in the backup SLA, they are allowed to define their own policies, or they can specify, choose from the policies that are available to them. Each policy here, well, in each one I can specify the name. I can disable temporarily all of the schedules if I want to. And I can specify auto-assignment rules. So for the OpenStack, actually it is regular expression based, which are more essential to automatically assign VMs based on some naming convention that users use. Optionally, I can limit it to the specific availability zone. Maybe user is just interested in the data protection for this specific zone. And here is the rule view. So this is the place where you are able to configure where the backups are going to be stored, when the backups are going to be invoked, and specify for how long they should be kept. Both primary and secondary backup destinations can be specified. Again, users are going to be limited just to the backup destinations that you allow them to see. Mountain backups is actually file-level restore capability that I have mentioned. This is the place where users would be able to mount their backups and browse and restore individual files if needed. Now, I have mentioned that you can limit the views to the end users. So if you go to the Store Backup and Recovery, I mentioned that only specific backup destinations can be selected. I have one of them here, like vCloud, which is not available in the OpenStack Horizon. And the reason for that is that I have disabled visibility for all projects. Optionally, I can just specify in which projects actually this backup destination is going to be visible. Then, if you think about the restore window, you have also ability to specify hypervisor cluster or availability zone, and this is in the infrastructure section, clusters, and I have, let's say, availability zone 3, which can also be limited to the specific projects, and users will not see my newly created availability zone immediately. I will just not allow them to see it only maybe for some projects where I would like to test out first if this availability zone is available. I can just enable it selectively. Backup SLAs, notice that I have few more. In the Horizon plugin I had only one, the OpenStack SLA. The reason for that was that it was enabled. In the other view, in the other section, you can actually specify the visibility for each of these policies. OpenStack Horizon plugin can also be limited in one other way. You may just not want end users to execute backups without any limitation. And in the infrastructure view, there is quotas section where you can define quota for the amount of data that the users have stored already, number of restores, number of backups, and it can be sometimes per instance or per project basically. OpenStack Horizon plugin can be installed both in the containerized and non-containerized OpenStack environment, so it works both with the vanilla installations and some branded ones like the Red Hat, for instance, and it integrates with your Storware backup and recovery server that works underneath. So that briefly summarizes the overview of the Horizon plugin. I really encourage you to test it out with your OpenStack environment, play with it, and see if it could help you to support multi-tenancy in terms of the data protection as well. Thank you for watching and stay tuned for the other videos.